96 seconds reaction time. Okay, you made my day, handsome. I will tell you all about it. She went on. In that 96 seconds, they lived their whole life, and that life ended in disaster and Phoenix. It was
the king wanted more taxes, a bigger army, and even more and tighter power than he already possessed. After he had spoken, the domineer asked all who had assembled if anyone had an objection to what he had said. Yakra, who was a wise slave who served the king, and consequently was known as the king's slave, brought the king a cup of water. Then, calmly and quietly, he announced, "I do, my lord." For what seemed like endless seconds, there was silence. Only the breeze that fluttered the flags, tents and awnings could be heard. The king's guards broke the silence with the slice of their swords being drawn from their scabbards, readying themselves to strike down this traitor. However, the king himself stood and placed himself between the king's slave and their weapons, staying their hands by raising his own. "Let him speak," he commanded. "In time, I will tell you what he said."
What he said. Discover what there is in chapter 2. We will read. I taught him what it is to read, and he read, and came back from his divine journey, having understood everything that can be understood. From this, both he and I understood what happiness is. Everyone laughed. I don't know why, but the man carried on talking. He said, "Just imagine you are meant to be from what is around you, and the things that are never meant to be are endless, and thus, you are one with what is endless. This means that you are the entirety, the infinity of everything. And you have a unique position and responsibility of knowing that. From the heritage of intelligence from one of the billions of sperm, our role may not be apparent to some. However, each aspect of it is as essential as every other. If a person recognized this in himself, then he would not feel he was special amongst everyone else. He would simply accept his oneness. We are privileged to carry this responsibility upon us, which we are holding on to it, without knowing too much about it. I am for the responsibility, he said. I remember he ended his speech by saying, if it was meant to be you, don't you feel the fame in you? You are the chosen one. One man jumped and said, what a load of rubbish. Have you chosen the what? Poverty and death? Killing each other? The old man finished this by simply saying, you have been chosen not to do what you just did. It's not strange to me what you just did and said, and I am not angry, but what would be odd to me is if you hadn't exhibited your nature in doing just that. The world is becoming more strange than usual. By civilizing ourselves, it's extraordinary. But when the extraordinary becomes permanent, then appears to us, it's the norm. The wolf, for example, exhibited unusual behavior, by looking after Piazon and not being true to her nature, and eating him. For her, it would not have been morally wrong to eat the baby Piazon, but then again, as a wolf, she would have had no choice. But you do, eat him.
And raised him. Now that was strange. That was strange. Chapter 3. In Chapter 3 we will find. Yes, it can, said a doleful, almost distressed voice. It was Amender. Amender? Speak to me. What's going on? She came back to life, her voice now choking with tears. She said, I read all the human chemical brain patterns of thinking and the emotional reactions that it generates and copied it electronically into my chip, and it's bloody worked. I stared at her, jaw dropped and eyes wide. But how? I asked. Amanda explained by giving me an example. Just like sound, human scientists defined it by mechanical radiant energy transmitted by longitudinal pressure waves. But to me it's more than a rush, it's more real. We will prove it later on when we talk. It's like waves. But waves with a purpose, and just the same as our voice can be copied and transformed into signals, so can brain waves. When we play it back, like any recording machine, it gives the same effect. sound or brainwaves, it's precisely the same, and it's a terrible thing. Yakra, please delete it from me. I should only be a machine. She continued, in the human brain, unlike the machine brain, the deletion option wasn't available so that I couldn't get rid of it all. I admit you were clever in that. You kept the deletion option only for you. Please Yakra, please delete it. No, I said, you are a pretty face, and I am not going to delete anything, but I will restore the deletion options so they will be available to you. But tell me, now, about the 96 seconds reaction time. Okay, you made my day, handsome. I will tell you all about it. She went on, in that 96 seconds, they lived their whole life, and that life ended in disaster and Phoenix. It was this antivirus that killed and ate everything in that very, very long 96-second time frame. Males, females and everything in between died. It killed them all, and for what? To survive? Just to survive and be a slave to you? They found that out. They figured it out, but their ambition refused it. Wait, hang on, did you see all that? How? I asked. Amender said that I had to go back to the recorded memory and watch it, but this time with open eyes and a calm mind to reading it correctly. Oh, you may see just a chemical reaction, to begin with, but concentrate, and you'll see it like I do. A millisecond at a time, even slower if you're terrific. Then you understand. What? That will take 24 hours, I said. Yes. It's actually 26.6 hours in sufferings. To you, it seems to be only 96 seconds, but not to me. It happens, when I inject myself with that strange, electrochemical human desire, emotion. Few unusual things about them, like their time, are much faster than ours. We are moving exceptionally slowly, according to their time speed. To us the day is 24 hours, but to them it's years. You can explain that to me later, I said. I will tell you one more thing, Amanda said. You might not have noticed or read in that 96 seconds. That is when they killed what they killed. It all happened at the same time. When the Phoenix have what they wanted, the intellectual content stopped the killing. It's easy to explain, now I understand that. They cooled down as time went on. In the first second, the heat generated by the reaction makes them angry and wild, but I think what I want to say is that as time went on, they began to enjoy what they were reading. I recorded the wave of joy, which was almost 30 times greater than the wave produced by the food they are living on now. That food and the souls they eat to live is, to them, much more delicious than anything else. I need to communicate with them, I said. Can you try to send the Phoenix message? Amender told me that language was much more concise to them and that they needed little communication as we would understand it to understand each other. Amender used the example method to communicate with them. It's a tough task trying to communicate with submicroscopic sentient beings. Ultimately, though, we got a response, a clear, understandable message from the Phoenix, and it was the most exciting day of my life. We had discovered sentient, sapient beings. Not only had we found the first such beings other than us, but we had control over them, and we could create them from readily available ingredients. However, it was a brain like Amender's that was needed to communicate with them. And the next chapter will continue. Our forest is patrolled by half of the army, in weekly shifts, with the other half, to keep them active and keep us safe. The expectation is that any road will make it easy for the enemy to reach us. The Jadomumi, for example, continue to suffer from the devastating and lasting impacts of the road, which brought in colonists, diseases and alcohol. Today, cattle ranchers and colonists use the road as an access point to invade and deforest the Jadomumi area.
Jadomumi is a few days away from here, but everyone knows about the massacre that happened there. We offered our help, but their arrogant dictator refused our help. One day I will tell you about all the area we rule and something about the nature, the culture, and the different beliefs of each tribe or the civilized groups. Anyone is welcome to live in our land as long as they pay their taxes, and the law is respected, and so then you are a respected citizen. Before Mr. Clark traveled back home, he said to me, "Look Yanomami, if I give you this book, it's in my bag, you might confess to Yakra, and that before 30 days or in 30 days Yakra will receive my message." Sorry, Mr. Clark. I don't think I am following what you are saying. Which book, and confess for what? Can you be clearer, please? I asked. Look Yanomami, Mr. Clark said, let me remind you, Yakra is my best friend, since school, when no one wanted to be his friend. I would do anything for him, but by telling him the truth, it might have an incentive impact on him. I will leave it to you, remind me to give you the book, 3 days before I travel back home. But don't read it until I have left, please. Okay, I said, but you are making me worried now, can you tell me a bit more? He then showed me the notebook he had written, then placed it back into his bag. No, he said, I have to go back, and by telling you everything now, that will delay my traveling for my daughter's birthday party. I am leaving in 3 days. See you then in 3 days, then I will give you the book. Chapter after chapter. Today is Thursday, Mr. Clark wrote, we are leaving home to go to the airport, my mate and me. He has changed his name now to Yakra. I wonder why and what does it mean, but I am not going to ask too much. Yakra is telling me the story of his beautiful wife, Melanie Piazon Tippi. He said that he met her when his best friend Yanomami, the new king, brought me 500 workers, engineers, teachers, doctors, and anyone else who needed the job. We interviewed them and chose who was capable of understanding. What was all of that for? I asked. Mr. Clark continued writing. Look, Mr. Aldrich Clark, remember that when I told you, neither the wealth nor the invention is my aims. Now I can tell you my goal, it's that I will create an empire, he said. Empire? Is it by taking over our own country as well? I asked. No, he said, it's the Phoenix Empire. Tell me later, please, I am not into all those old strange stories of yours again, I said, joking and laughing with him. Tell me more about Melanie Piazon Tippi. How did you meet up? Okay, Aldrich, Yanomami, brought the workers. I came to interview them, then there she was, laughing with Yanomami, just as beautiful, preciosa, Rico, he said. What is that? I said smiling, tribal language? No, this one is not, but I can speak some of the tribe's languages, he said. Okay, tell me more about her from A to Z, I said. Yes, sure, he said, she took my attention, from between all the participants. She had a sparkling smile, her shiny hazel eyes sparkled, like sparkling orient pearls, her lips did cast a divine light, like the stars in the dark twilight sky, and her hair, Okay. I cut the conversation short. Tell me about Yanomami, I said. What about him? He asked. Did he see what you saw in her? Did he laugh with her? And not the others? Was he looking into her eyes? Or was he a little shy? Tell me exactly, I asked again. No, Yakra replied, I never doubted that man. I will never do that. I trust him with my life and everyone else's life. I believe in this king. For God's sake, never go near him, don't destroy years of a good relationship. We have built the most civilized country in the world together, we might invade the space, and we might. Hang on a minute, I stopped his talking, what most civilized country? It's just isolated tribes, it's never and will never be enlightened. How can you say that? Yakra valued. Moreover, any scientist who enters their territory gets killed, they are cannibals, I said. They eat us alive, and why we never heard about your most civilized country, Mr. Yakra. You just got lucky you didn't get eaten by a hungry cannibal, or they weren't that hungry, perhaps. Then Yakra explained it to me, in his boring philosophical conspiracy theory simple explanation. Yakra said, your large countries don't want to tell the people about this new civilization. When the time has come, They will say to their people how uncivilized and terrorist these tribes are, convincing everyone. Look, Mr. Clark, you are already convincing yourself. There is no need for media to wash your brain. You are already as clean as a washed Ferrari, Yakra said. Oh, you still remember to say Ferrari after all these years, I said. Good for you, and your empire. We went from the destination airport in a private car, which was a Ferrari. I had hidden my confusion. In a few hours the vehicles stopped, a few men and horses were waiting. We went on for 3 days. We were going on into a more heated part of the jungle. More armed men were escorting us. I lost count, as there were too many of them. I lived the most comfortable, luxurious, enjoyable trip of my life, the best 3 days ever in the jungle. Does any other vast country know about your existence? I asked. The guards opened the prison door. They escorted me to the court hall. Where is Yakra? I asked, but no one was talking. Already hundreds of people were in attendance. I was angry. I was screaming, where is he? But it looks like he is not there. So, the court proceeded, and they charged me with 5 charges: traitor, attempted murderer, running from justice, obtaining money from the enemy by selling the invention, and trying to start a civil war. It is a death penalty. I screamed and screamed, but no one could hear me, so I went back to prison, and I am waiting for the execution day. End of part 3. You can find out more in chapter 4.